Hey everyone, it's Benzo Awareness Day 2021, July 11th. The reason they chose this day was Dr. Heather Ashton's birthday, and she's the one who originally did studies and helped people in protracted or just in everyday benzo withdrawal, but doing research. Realistically, she was a doctor, Dr. Heather Ashton. She provided us the benzodiazepine Ashton method manual, which is the go-to when it comes to coming off the medication. I've been in this for almost 5 years. My story is long but short enough to talk about it. So I had generalized anxiety, which then I thought was a real issue, not knowing how bad it could get. But at the time, I thought it was bad enough. And looking back at old posts that I would make on Facebook, that it seemed it was scary. So I went to the doctor and got prescribed Xanax. I mean, I've been prescribed many things in the past, from SSRIs to SSNRIs or something. I don't remember. SSNI. I don't remember what they were. But I've been prescribed like 8 to 10 different medicines, and they've always made me sicker and worse. I have visual snow syndrome, which I see static all the time, and things move around, and it's it sucks. And usually those medicines make that a lot worse. So my vision is pretty terrible. I always have a film of movement and trails and stuff like that. Had that since I was a kid, but it's gotten progressive over the years, and it gets very progressive when I have things like this going on, being sick. So I was prescribed Xanax, and at first it seemed like a godsend of a drug. It changed my life for 2 days. I thought this was the answer. Finally, I feel comfortable with what I'm doing. It was great. Then I started not feeling so well and whatever. And Xanax it's a very short acting drug. So usually after about a week, after about 4 hours after taking it, I'd start feeling sick. Didn't think too much of it, but it wasn't cool. I knew something was up. After 2 weeks on it, I was having interdose withdrawals bad, where I would get horrific burning pins and needles in my skin, and really weird brain head feeling symptoms. It was really hard to explain. So it scared me enough to what the fuck. So I had to find a psychiatrist, because I got this prescribed from my regular doctor. So I had to find a psychiatrist. This is when I moved to Texas, so it was new, and I didn't have all these set up at the time. At the time, I don't think I needed a psychiatrist, but so I had to get one. And if you know anything about Austin, it's a heavily populated area, and it was very hard to get somebody. So I had to wait. So finally, I found one, and this was maybe 2 months after the fact. So I had to keep taking the stuff, because after 2 weeks, I was hooked. I was dependent on it at a very low dose of 0.25. And That's pretty much the lowest you can get. So I was already totally dependent on it. If I tried not to take it, I thought I was going to have a heart attack or seizure. So I just kept taking it. And I thought my best bet was to see a psychiatrist and see how to get off of it. He basically laughed at me to a point and said, well, that's such a baby dose. Just stop taking it. And I've learned in time, there's no such thing as a baby dose. That little amount of Xanax I took was like equal to 10 or 20 milligrams of Valium. You can't just jump off that stuff. So he decided to put me on Klonopin and transfer over. So I did that, and that was brutal. Didn't help one bit, and it just made me sicker. So I tapered it myself for 2 weeks, which obviously is not a taper. It's more or less a cold turkey from benzos. That was altogether 3 months. That's it. I was a short-term user of benzos at a very low dose of what is Xanax or Klonopin. I never abused them. I took them as directed, a lot of times less than as directed. And the 2 days I felt relief, I'm still here 5 years later suffering. So after I got off the benzos and it was that time I didn't sleep for 8 days, and I was desperate, went back to the psychiatrist. And at this time, I really didn't know that much about psychiatry and the drugs and stuff like that. So I trusted him, and he put me on Remeron. Said, this should help you with sleep. And it did. It put me to sleep. And he said it was the easiest drug to get on and off of, and there should be no issues, whatever. They have no idea at this time now that my nervous system, immune system, and all my systems are completely screwed up. The GABA A receptors that benzos hit in your body have been completely damaged. So anything that's excitable to me makes me extremely sick. So yeah, it sucks. So I got put on Remeron, and it did help for sleep. I never had issues with sleeping after I was put on that. But it made me a zombie. Hard to function. I didn't know if it was coming from the Remeron or the benzo withdrawal syndrome. Now, just because the drug's out of your system doesn't mean that you're okay, because it already did its effects on my brain, nervous system, immune system, everything, histamine system, every system. It's basically damaged. I don't know why my body chose to react this way. There is a thing called kindling, which means that at one time I took benzos before, which a year before I was seeing an ENT, and I took Valium for a year. Not every day, but I took it for a year, and I just dropped it. No problem whatsoever. I took Valium way more than I ever did the Xanax. And usually if you have one withdrawal, the next one's a lot harsher. And with benzos, it's a whole, I wish I would have known. So kindling is something that probably happened to me where my nervous system was already just ready to go, since I already put it through Remeron. I was on tramadol for a long time and got off that. So I've had many withdrawals that were normal. I got sick, passed a couple months. And this time, for some reason, after the 3 months and I got off the benzos, it scared the living shit out of me. It was like, I can't even tell you. I don't even have the list of the symptoms I used to have anymore after I transferred my computers. But there was easily over 100 symptoms that I was dealing with. It was devastating. And I always say I can deal with the physical symptoms more than I can the mental symptoms. And it's realistically the mental symptoms that take me out and have destroyed me, basically, physically and mentally. It's just what the drugs do. It's just to some people. And doctors don't believe you because the information's there, but they're not reading it. And there's so much money in pharma that they just don't care. There's thousands of us, thousands. So anyway, I was almost basically disabled. I had to stay home. I stayed home for almost a year, maybe. A girlfriend helped me work, do my business. So hopefully I can get back to it, and it worked. And eventually she completely helped me for about 3 years. And it took me a long time to start going back out for work. And I felt like I was tripping on acid. It was absolutely horrifying. So up to about 4 months ago, which is now, I would say I was off benzos for 4 years and 6 months about. This is round. I'm still on Remeron. Within that time, a year after I got off benzos, I started tapering the Remeron 1 gram at a time. So I was on 7.5 milligrams. I went to 7.4. 2 weeks later, I went to 7.3, so on and so on. Once in a while, I double it. No big deal, whatever. So I managed to get to 1.0 as of like 7 months ago or something like that. I've made it to 1 milligram. Only, other than Prilosec, it's the only pharma drug I was on tapering. And as the years went on, I started feeling a little better. I wasn't so terrified. Anxiety's always been an issue, but not like the chemical terror that I was in for a year and a half to 2 years. It was absolutely horrifying. So once I got to the 1.0 of Remeron, I went to 0.8. I figured I could deal with it okay. I had some pretty severe anxiety, but that's all that kind of happened. And I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm getting there. I mean, I was on the home plate here, almost there. And then a month and a half later, I went to 0.6 from 0.8. Everything crashed. This was 4 months ago now. Went through the most severe withdrawal state, and my body just completely freaked out. I don't know why my nervous system is so completely still fragile. I've done everything by the book. So when people offer me to do, these drugs, that drugs, exercise and stuff like that, listen, my nervous system is so bad off that I can't do those things. I want to so bad. You have no idea how bad I want to get back to my life. You have no idea. So here I am at 0.6 Remeron. I called my psychiatrist that I have today and told her how I was tapering it and stuff like that. I was so scared that I actually called the psychiatrist, which is realistically dumb because she could have easily pulled me off the medicine. And if that was the case, I would have had to just cold turkey it, and I'd probably be disabled for the next 6 months to a year. So I updosed the Remeron to 1.2 milligrams, and it didn't help one bit. And that figures, I probably stabilized the medicine fairly quick, but my body and brain are not. And it's actually gotten way worse for 4 months. Some symptoms kind of got better, and then there's some that just keep getting worse as time goes on. So I have some heavy thinking to do on when I should start tapering again and what I can handle and what I can't. Right now, I'd say I probably got set back a couple years. But I'm kind of over the fact that I fucked it up. It was a mistake. I didn't realize I was making a mistake. It was actually a very small cut for medicine, but I did it, and it backfired big time. So now my nervous system's probably in more of a worse state than it was after benzos, because I keep shocking my body and brain. So my symptoms are completely out of control. Sorry, I'm just trying to up this. Okay. So right now, I was trying to find a list of symptoms, and honestly, it's been hard. I'm getting some information, but a lot of the UK stuff is not showing up on my. I'll try to think of, like what I'm dealing with right now. I get major headaches. That's okay. It's not too bad. I get pressure band around my head. Feels like my brain is getting squeezed. And that's not 24/7 anymore like it was, but it's still there. It's coming back more. Um, my my vision with the visual snow is worse. So the static is thicker, and the movement of static is kind of like an old television. You know how you can watch it move? That's what my vision does. I hallucinate more, not full body stuff, but it's like I see things constantly. Um, my anxiety is the worst that it's ever been in my life. It's calmed down today a little bit, thank goodness. But it's probably the worst. So any stressor, I can always feel my stomach turning, like when you look over a cliff, your stomach turns. I get that all day long. So that's real fun. Um, my body burns, feels like it's got the flu. Um, lately I've been getting back an early symptom that I have is when I stand, the floor look, you can see it moving up and down. The walls kind of move. Basically hallucinations. I get really dizzy. Get really hot or really cold. Those aren't too big of a deal, but they're there. I have neuropathy in my hands and feet to where they buzz all day, and get the electrical currents that go through my whole entire body and just continually move. My allergies are always the worst because Remeron is an antihistamine as well, and it destroys your histamine channels. So now, until I'm off that medicine, it'll take a while for that to start to heal. So I can't really do anything that involves outside unless I'm wearing a mask or something. So that's rough. The nausea is terrible, and that's because of the anxiety. My anxiety stems from my gut, and yeah. Let me think. I had a list of stuff, and it's realistically impossible for me to go through that. I'm wondering if I have it on my. Nah. But the persistent migraine kind of thing, that's always been an issue. I can't take any medicine. I once in a while take an Advil. That's it. I can't take medicines of any sorts. I can't take vitamins. I can't take probiotics. Everything hits the nervous system, and I can't afford to be sicker. I'm at over the line of what I can deal with, and some days are better than others. And thinking about having to taper more of an antidepressant with a nervous system that's completely shocked is absolutely terrifying. It's a really hard thing to tolerate and deal with, and know that I've got a couple years left in this. Once I'm off all the drugs, I'll heal. I'll start to heal. And I have no doubt about that. But knowing that I have to deal with this first is really scary, and my mind plays a lot of tricks on me. It moves really fast. If I close my eyes, all I see is static and movement and figures constantly moving. It's very hard to rest. I do a lot of distraction. It's hard to meditate in this kind of head. It was a little easier 4 months ago before I messed up the Remeron taper. So I was getting there. I was getting there. I mean, I was starting to see people again and stuff like that. And now it's like back to years ago. You know, I can see you, but it's going to be very uncomfortable. So it's hard. But I keep getting, it seems, and the same thing happened to me after I got off benzos, where things got slowly worse for months and months and then finally plateaued. It took like 5 or 6 months and then it plateaued. I'm on 4 months now. Things are still getting worse. I was standing outside today and the floor was just going up and down. It's not really, it's really messed up. It's a really fucked up way. And people tell me, you know, that don't understand, to go to, you know, get more drugs. I'm not going to take more drugs to cover up the fact that these drugs did this to me, because I know I'll get better to a point once I'm off all the drugs. I know that, but I have to suffer in order to get there. Once in a while, I'll take something to help it out a little bit, but every time I do, the symptoms roar the next day. So the nervous system goes down and then it just freaks out. It just doesn't know what to do. It's damaged. It got completely shocked. So did my brain. I hear things. My sensory issues, like sensory vision, is terrible. It's like always on edge. My hearing, the sensory in my hearing is not as bad as it was after benzos, but it's still there where I can't handle the sound as well. Light sensitivity, it's awful. I can deal with it better now, but still rough. But think about this. I have 1.2 milligrams of Remeron to go, and that'll be 1 gram at a time. So I'll go down to 1.1, 1.0, 0.9, 0.8. I'll probably jump at 0.4, and I'll have to just tolerate the end. But it's Awareness Day today, and I wanted to tell my long story short, you know, tell you what I've been dealing with. It's been an absolute ride. I have a good support system, and that's great. I get very stressed out because it's really hard to pretend that I'm okay. I cry every day. There's a good point before the Remeron mess up where I wasn't crying every day. I was crying like once a week. No big deal. For me, that's, you know, I was tolerating things way easier. Now, I still have to work. I can't get a diagnosis other than fibromyalgia, and that's garbage because they don't see it as an issue. I literally give them a list of symptoms, a whole list of what I'm going through, and literally it equals almost every disease out there. It's absolute torture. The pain I deal with, unreal. They offer me drugs, and I have to say, I can't take them. They might help for about a half hour to an hour, but after that wears off, my symptoms are going to be so out of fucking control that I'll have to just continually take the drugs, and then I'll have to keep upping the drugs until I end up killing myself. And I don't want to get to that point. I am in bad shape. There's not many people like me, and I'm very knowledgeable about it, and I'm willing to help people through it. But honestly, it's one of the hardest things you can go through. Being neurologically and physically ill to a point that is so out of control and not be able to do one fucking thing about it. Doctors don't know. They don't believe you. Half the time, friends and families don't believe you, and you're pretty much alone. It's absolutely terrifying. All you can do is wait and hope that you can get through it. I'm upset that the Remeron taper got messed up. because it set me back a long fucking time. I miss all of my friends, I miss my family, miss everyone. And it's not my fault what happened. I did what the doctors prescribed. I never abused anything. I wish doctors would have promoted CBD then. I wish doctors would have said, why don't you try this? These drugs can be very strong, and these drugs can really, some percentage of people can really destroy your mind and body. Is your anxiety now worth that risk? And at that time, I probably would have said no. But they're so easy to dole out these drugs like it's nothing. That scares me. And I just want you guys to know, I know we all deal with our certain things, but understand, if you're able to drive long distances, if you're able to eat whatever you want, if you're able to have positive relationships, understand that you're a lot farther than a lot of the people, myself and a lot of people I know. They wish they could have that and just deal with the anxiety we had before these pills. The stuff that I was talking about online 5 years ago, how hard it was to deal with, is my dream to get back to. That's really not cool. But July 11th, 2021, Benzo Awareness Day, Dr. Heather Ashton gave us this information, and if it wasn't for her, I don't know if I'd be alive. Thanks for listening, you guys.